system, so 2 starts to this race. We'll get the first 9 cars off, then the 5 Twin Spark Cup cars will go off when the Union flag falls 10 seconds after the original start. So we are waiting for this 20-minute race to get underway for the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship, and it does indeed. And the start that is best is from Simon Scott from the outside of the front row of the grid. There's a little bit of shenanigans further back. Mike Hilton is losing a little bit of ground at the start. Now the Twin Spark Cup cars in the background get away as well, so we'll pick up what's happening with those in a moment. But it is the car from the outside of the front row, Simon Scott, that leads from Jamie Thwaites as they head through the first couple of corners.
And Tom Hill is third, so he's already passed more than half the cars that started in front of him. It looked like James Ford has fended off Toby Brooms. Sometimes we get some close quarter actions in the Twin Spark Cup, so that'll be something to look out for as the race goes on. But Tom Hill up to third, quick straight away in that V6 GT for the 4-time champion. As Jamie Thwaites dives up the inside, goes through. Suspect that car's got a lot more aero than the Mito of Simon Scott. So Jamie Thwaites takes the lead of the race from Scott in second, and in third spot is Tom Hill, very fast starting. He sort of struggled to squeeze past a few of the cars, or muscled his way past, but he got there in the end, into third. And Mike Hilton made a better start than the green flag lap went. The Mito perhaps got a bit more straight line speed than the Giulietta ahead, but not enough to make a move. Behind Andy Page, with probably the oldest car on the grid there in 5th position in the older Giulietta. There's Stacey Dennis, a bit sideways, I think, through the S's, but she's got herself ahead of Dave Messenger, who's not had a very good first lap. Perhaps recalibrating his brain into the type of motorsport he's taking part in.
Down to the Melbourne hairpin he goes, and it looks like he's going to get past the number 30 car of Stacey Dennis, who is the only car in her particular class, the Power Trophy, during the course of this weekend, which obviously limits her point scoring ability as well, which is in a little bit unhelpful for her in the overall standings. But she gets the place back here from Dave Messenger. I think she's just going to have a battle with whoever is up against her, really, rather than worrying about sort of class points and things like that.
Yeah, she finished third at Cadwell Park in that race where it started to rain on the green flag lap. So I don't think the car's perhaps got as much power as some of the others, but in those tricky conditions managed to get onto the podium for Stacey Dennis, the driver from West Sussex, as we've been saying. She said that she was been racing for about 10 years, so I guess that race here at Donington Park would have been one of her first the last time the series was here.
Twin Spark Cup, James Ford is leading from Toby Broom and Richard Ford then. And looks like the driver that we're missing, because we've only got 13, Roger Evans, isn't it, that's not made it out. So actually he didn't compete in this one, having competed here last time almost a decade ago. That
means there won't be so many V6s starting for Tom Hill's points.
Yes, just the 2 of them, I think, in the end.
I think Roger Evans is the man behind the team that prepared Tom Hill's car, so I guess that was they would have tried ever so hard to get Roger Evans' car out to make sure he could score the points, but that's not been possible, it seems. Here are the Twin Spark Cup leaders, the 3 of them together. It's James Ford then who is ahead, the pharmacist from Lincoln, and he has claimed more than 30 victories in this category in the past in his self-built 156, and he's ahead of Toby Broom and his brother Richard Ford, who is backed by the championship sponsor Hitek Electronics Materials.
Yeah, I think it's also the FD for Hitek as well. As we watch this battle in the Twin Spark Cup come down to the Melbourne hairpin for the second time in this 20-minute race, and a different line being taken on the exit of the corner by Toby Broom, number 33, who is third in points before drop scores, but a little bit behind James Ford after the drop scores have started to be taken into account.
I think Toby Broom was a little bit too late on the brakes and had loads of understeer as he turned into the Goddard hairpin, but he's a similar gap behind James Ford as he was at the start of the lap.
And these 3 have pulled away, haven't they, from Edward Robinson and Adrian Norman as well in the Twin Spark Cup class. So
yeah,
they're a little bit further back.
Yeah, they've been the class of the field. James Ford, although winning 6 of the races this season, hasn't really won them easily. Don't think he competed at Festival Italia last time out, so Toby Broom and John Billingsley, who's not here, were the winners at Brands. But a little bit of a gap because of that mistake for James Ford over Toby Broom. We've got a car in the gravel now in.
Yeah, that's Mark Skeggs, isn't it, in the ex-British GT car. He was in 5th place. He might lose that P5 now to Andy Page, who, yes, does indeed make his way through on the way up into Coppice Corner. So Skeggo drops back down to 6th place for the moment, at least, behind the number 14 Giulietta of Andy Page, the local man from Derby, and in fact another place being lost there by Skeggs, as Dave Messenger now goes through in the number 79 car, the man from Witney in Oxfordshire. So Skeggs down to 7th.
Tom Hill wasn't lapping particularly quick on the previous lap. In Tom Hill standards anyway, he was a lot slower than the top 3, and he has had a win overall this year. He's had a 2nd, he's had 3 thirds, a couple of 4ths and a 5th, and he's currently running in 4th position, but perhaps not as close to the leaders as we've come to expect. So we'll keep an eye on Tom Hill's progress as Mark Skeggs he's now... I think he might have lost his brakes or something like that, because the car has gone flying off the circuit. Thankfully no one was just ahead of him in that Bianco prepared car, and he's ended up in the gravel trap for the national circuit, really. But that has thankfully stopped that car from hitting anything, and you have to think that the brakes weren't working at that point.
Yeah, so a very unusual place to end up, but so fortunately nobody else involved in all of that. There's Mike Hilton in the 4C that's there in 3rd position. Beautiful looking car, isn't it? The number 70 machine of Mike Hilton and from Isha. Very unusual car. There's not too many of these racing. I'm not sure if I've ever seen one on the road for that matter, but it looks absolutely fantastic as it comes through the Fogarty S's.
Yeah, well, this one had to be imported, so I wonder if they don't actually sell them here. I'm not sure. An Alfa Romeo 4C then for Mike Hilton. A car that's no longer being built. 2013 to 2020, only 9,000 cars of these were produced in that time period. So. And rather less made into race cars. There was at one point where Alfa Romeo said they were going to make it into a GT4 car, but that never happened.
No.
So good to see one on the circuits in this championship, and going pretty well. Mike Hilton in 3rd position today. As we said, he was a winner last time out, and this season has had some good results. He's had 5 top 3s overall, with 3 seconds and a 3rd to add to that win.
Here's the Twin Spark Cup battle. Skeggo has made it out of the gravel trap, but only as far as the pit lane. I think he's realised that he can't continue in this race.
2nd place car, Simon Scott, is slowing. He was 4 seconds ahead of Mike Hilton. He's now behind Mike Hilton. So the Mito, that had all kinds of problems at Cadwell Park, was running slowly for the whole meeting, and appears to be not going as quickly as it was. But now, is he getting back up to speed again? He's very late on the brakes into McLean's, and he's going into the gravel. So he's had another car that's got brake problems, perhaps.
Possibly so, yeah. And that one has gone off a little bit more quickly, and I think he's managing to get itself dug in. The marshals running towards the scene to see if they can offer their assistance to Simon Scott, who's well stuck in the gravel. It's Edward Robinson just going across the line in his 156, one of the Twin Spark Cup cars, for the cars that all run the same 2-litre engine. And you can see he wears the novice cross on the back of his car as well. Just on lap record watch, 142.76 was the mark to beat. And we've just done it on that lap. Just as I was about to say, it's not been beaten yet. Jamie Thwaites has done it. He's done a 142.54. So a new lap record now for Jamie Thwaites. So it's taken 2 tenths off Tim Lewis's long-standing lap record. In the Twin Spark Cup, I think the best lap so far is a 156.97 for Toby Broom, which is also a lap record in that class. James Ford did hold the lap record previously, 159.67. So the new lap record's an anagram of the old one, for the moment at least. There is James Ford now, number 23, leading his class with just over 10 minutes of this race left to go. He's got a margin of 1.6 seconds, he was at the start of the lap, over Toby Broom in 2nd place. And Richard Ford, James's brother, still there in third. This Twin Spark Cup class is the sort of entry point into Alfa Romeo racing, being a relatively affordable way to get into the championship in cars that are similar in their performance. Very limited modifications that can be done, running on treaded tyres as well, but usually very good racing to be found within this class. So we are now into the second half of the race, which is being led by Jamie Thwaites by just a shade under 20 seconds at the start of the lap.
See the LMA livery car, Toby Broom. Was it not that back in that was on Tony Soper's car when it ran in British GT, I feel like?
Possibly.
Because that was all part of, there was an LMA Saloon Series as well at that point, was there not? There's Jamie Thwaites, our new lap record holder. He's just gone a slower lap last time, so he may know that he's broken that now. He's a long way ahead of Mike Hilton in second place. So down the Craner curves he comes. Interesting this season, we've had a lot more modified class cars compared to last season where there weren't many at all. Last couple of seasons really since the Alfa Romeo Championship joined 750 Motor Club. Because we had Barry McMahon, didn't we? He was dominative over the last few seasons, and now he doesn't that often come out in his 156 Turbo, which is a shame because that would, I'm sure, be good competition for Jamie Thwaites and the Giulietta.
Yeah, he did win both of the races at Alton Park. Barry McMahon beating Thwaites on both occasions there, but I think that's certainly the only time I've seen him this season, but I've only seen a couple of the events so far.
Yeah, I think he finished second at Brands behind Mike Hilton. So I think he might have been there, but possibly no others. Maybe in a different car as well.
Yeah, Barry McMahon won the championship outright in 2021, and also the modified class. Andrew Bork, of course, was the champion last year. Tom Hill won it in 2016, 2018, 2019 and 2020, 3 of those years from the Twin Spark Cup. Andrew Bork also winning it in 2017 as well.
We just saw the new Giulietta of Jamie Thwaites. Here's the old one from 40 years ago. Andy Page's version. He's in 4th position. He's just ahead of Dave Messenger. Oh, and Toby Broom, who was second in the Twin Spark Cup, has gone off in a similar place to... Now, has he gone off via the S's or has he gone off via the hairpin?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out how he's got there. Toby Broom, who was second... There's a lot of gravel on the circuit, or not on the circuit, more to the point.
It's on the national circuit.
It's on the national circuit. So again, we didn't see how he got there. But is he going to try and rejoin us? I suspect no. So steering wheels come off, so probably not.
There's quite a few Alfa Romeos been parked at the side of the circuit in this race here.
Well, and as we always say, that is so they can be better admired from the sidelines by the spectators, because they are such beautiful machines. And the drivers are very much aware of their obligation to show them off to their best potential. Here's Andy Page. So he's in 4th place now, number 14. Dave Messenger, number 79, is just in behind him in 5th place. And gap back then to Stacey Dennis, who is 6th, and the last of the surviving cars from the first wave. So here's this little battle going on between Page and Messenger with 6.5 minutes of the race left to go.
Hopefully Andy's thinking of lots of intelligent questions to ask the drivers about this race, because there's not been so much going on in compared to some of the other races we've had today at the sharp end of the field, with a 26-second lead for Jamie Thwaites. Don't think if we add up all the other winning gaps we would have got quite that margin.
No, it's looking like a convincing win here for Thwaites. It's a bit of a shame really that it's not a close contest, and that we have had a couple of cars, or 3 cars now I think, retire from the race. 10 cars we have, I think, still circulating of the 13 that started. So a bit of a disappointing field for the Alfa Romeo Championship, and we hope that we'll see more cars on the grid for the final round, which will be next month.
You see Dave Messenger there in the Darnell's limited run car. As he has been for a long time. He was racing a C1 at Brands Hatch the other day, so something perhaps less admired by the masses. And that car broke. Where this one's running well for Dave Messenger in 5th position.
So in towards the final quarter of this race now for the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship.
Well, I think the reason the C1 broke because it got bashed. You
Okay.
don't want to be bashing an Alfa Romeo.
Not really. Not really.
Far too precious.
Down to the Melbourne hairpin goes that little scrap. Messenger and Page for 4th place overall. They're in different classes. Page is in the modified class, Messenger in the V6 class. That's the same as Tom Hill, who's in 3rd position overall and still circulating after his smoky demise from qualifying earlier, which put that large oil slick down this part of the circuit actually between Hollywood and the old hairpin.
With commentators' curses, that was a very sketchy moment to be watching Tom Hill go down there.
It was indeed, but hey, he's got through it. It's okay. That meant that we did have an early lunch break here at Donington Park today and a bit of a rejig of the timetable. While that was dealt with to avoid too many delays later on in the programme and to try and finish something approximating the scheduled time, mindful of the fact that it is a long day for all concerned, not least the marshals, who, as ever, we are tremendously grateful for their support. But here's Hill in 3rd place, making his way down towards the Fogarty S's, and it's something of a demonstration drive this from Tom. I say 4 championships already in his belt, 3 in the Twin Spark Cup, 1 I think in this car in 2020, the shortened season when there's only I think 3 or 4 meetings due to the impact of COVID that year.
That was when they debuted this GT, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And this Revs Italia car, great to have it here, and Tom Hill pushes on, hopping up onto 3 wheels there, and he will shortly lap the car of Adrian Norman, the ex-Mini Challenge racer, who is running in 10th spot, and debris there that Tom Hill had to drive over.
I think that was there from the start, wasn't it, really, that debris. There's Edward Robinson, so he's looking good for a podium within the Twin Spark Cup class here, behind the Ford brothers, James and Richard. And he's just making his way up to McLean's now. Through the right-hander he goes.
I think this championship's likely to go all the way to Silverstone, isn't it? With it probably closing up actually, with James Ford getting pole and having a larger entry. Jamie Thwaites has just gone quicker. He's just set another record lap. 1 minute 42.19, which is nearly as quickly as he went in qualifying.
Yeah, it is. That was a 1:41.5, wasn't it? So not far off. That meeting at Silverstone is on the Grand Prix circuit. So another Grand Prix circuit, back to back, having raced here on the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit this weekend.
That'll be another one to investigate when that last happened to this championship, which may be even further ago.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Andy Robinson's preview will reveal the details of that. But obviously a good chance to race here on the this circuit, 30th anniversary season of the European Grand Prix being held here at Donington. That famous opening lap from Ayrton Senna.
A soggy day for spectators.
It was indeed.
Hopefully we won't get so much of that tomorrow.
I think we're going to get some wet weather, aren't we? But hopefully not quite as extreme as that. So we're into the last minute of the race now. I think there'll be one more lap to go at the end of this one for Jamie Thwaites, who's due across the line any moment now, I think.
Yeah, he's at most of the field, I think. He's 41 seconds ahead. So probably the best part of half a lap, won't it, by the end? In a very dominated performance. Don't feel like in the other races we've seen Jamie Thwaites out and he's been this far ahead.
No, I think there's been different drivers that have had success. Well, notably, as we've said, Barry McMahon, and obviously things didn't go to plan for him very much. Didn't go to plan for him at Brands Hatch with that issue on the start line in the first race where Mike Hilton and Ian Stapleton took the 2 race wins. It was only at Silverstone on the national circuit where he did get the 2 victories. And even that wasn't straightforward. Those were both very good races, actually, the two on the Silverstone National Circuit back in the spring.
Back of the car looks very high up in the air, doesn't it?
Mm.
Not sure if it is designed that way. So he is now on his 12th and final lap of the race. And he's about to lap Dave Messenger, the car in 5th. So he might lap Andy Page as well before the end. He goes through Coppice Corner. Is it not running the rear diffuser that TCR cars generally
Possibly,
would?
yeah.
So obviously doesn't have to run in the way it was built in this championship. Basically an open regulation set, isn't it? The modified class.
Yeah.
I think we've seen World Touring cars in the past in this.
Yeah, and it's you know, very open indeed, and that does result in some cars that are quite highly developed, highly stressed. Obviously, the TCR car though is a car that is proven and built to a specific set of regulations, so probably a bit more reliable than some others that we've seen in this class. But Jamie Thwaites coming out of Goddard for the final time to complete his 12th and final lap. There's the checker flag, and he wins round number 9 of the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship by quite the margin.
On the last lap, Mike Hilton was very slow. Okay. So is he still going? Because he did a 2-minute lap on the last lap, which is 15 seconds off the pace.
Well, there he is. We can just see him in the background of shot there, coming out of or down from Coppice to the Fogtiesi, so he is still circulating. So it looks like he's going to take second place.
Where's Tom Hill there for?
Yeah,
there
he is. Yeah, so he's going to be third. So that's going to be our top 3. Here's Hilton now, down towards the Melbourne hairpin for the final time in this number 70 Alfa Romeo 4C. Across the line there goes James Ford to win the Twin Spark Cup class as well. Number 23, James Ford, wins in the Twin Spark Cup, and again, that's by quite a decent margin in the end, that he has managed to do that over his brother Richard Ford. So they've been relatively solitary. Often in the past, been much closer, those two, along with others within that class. Here's our second place man, Mike Hilton, number 70 in the 4C. Takes P2, and then another 20 seconds or so down the road should be our third place driver, and the last driver on the lead lap, that would be Tom Hill. But a big victory margin there for Jamie Thwaites, wasn't it?
Over a minute, which one for Andy Robinson to figure. Is that the biggest winning margin for a very long time in the championship,
well,
I suspect?
I've seen other Alfa races won by more than a minute, I think. Okay. So, yes, I'm sure it has happened, but yeah, certainly relatively unusual. And so, yep, Thwaites the winner, Hilton second, Tom Hill third.
And hopefully some of those cars with problems can be resolved overnight, because the Alfa Romeos are back tomorrow just before lunch. So there's some work to do for a couple or 3 of the teams in that one. I think we lost 3 during the race, didn't we? And we lost Roger Evans beforehand. So a bit of work to do in the garages of the Alfa Romeo Championship are located in this weekend here at Donington.
And we've still got one race to come, of course, this evening here at Donington Park. That's for the Tigiwa Typo R Trophy, the final round of the season, where second place in the championship is still under dispute. But there is Jamie Thwaites just pulling into the pit lane at the end of the race. I don't know if we can have a quick look at the results of that race. Yes, we can. 12 laps completed by Jamie Thwaites, number 40, with a victory margin of 1 minute 7.80 seconds over number 70 Mike Hilton in second place. Third was number 75 Tom Hill. He was another 17 seconds behind, but won his class. The V6 class again is continued that clean sweep. Fourth to number 14 Andy Page. Fifth to number 79 Dave Messenger. Sixth to number 30 Stacey Dennis, who also won her class and continuing her clean sweep. Then seventh was number 23 James Ford. Eighth was number 9 Richard Ford. Ninth number 78 Edward Robinson, and the last finisher was number 54 Adrian Norman. So that is the top 10 from the Hitek Electronic Materials Alfa Romeo Championship race. It's been a very interesting race to watch, and we will look forward to another of those tomorrow, as Josh says, just before lunch. But for now, let's head down to Andy McEwen. He is in the pit lane, and he'll be ready to talk to Jamie Thwaites.
So Jamie Thwaites dominant then in our first Alfa Romeo Championship race of the weekend. He's just got out of his car now. The others taking a fairly leisurely lap back into the pit lane. And it looks as though Mike Hilton has found out just how steep some of the drops in the pit lane can be, but he does now pull up in second place, much to the amusement of our race winner, Jamie Thwaites, who, well, we didn't see a lot of you in that one, Jamie. That's the problem when you disappear on up the road.
You know, it's a real shame because there's been a really good modified grid all year long. And, you know, there's been some really tight battles at the front. And I think Barry Mahon's leading. And I was feeling good this weekend. And it's a shame he wasn't here because we could have had a good ding-dong. But at the same time, you know, the team, Bianca Motorsports, did a good job preparing the car. And it felt mega out there. And unfortunately, there's no one to race with. But I'm racing myself as well, so...
It's not a bad car to be out there enjoying yourself in, though. The guys upstairs were talking about the car. Obviously, it's a TCR car. Do you know anything about its history, where it came from?
It won a round of the championship in 2017, I think, under Romeo Ferraris. Okay. That's about all I know.
And how close to original TCR spec is it running then?
It's almost there. Obviously, they do a lot of setup work when they go to a circuit, and they've got stickier tyres, etc. But ostensibly, it's as it left Romeo Ferraris, so, with all the problems they had as well.
I didn't see any problems in that. Were you fighting anything behind the scenes?
You know what? It was doing strange things in going from third to fourth gear. So, and that happened after about lap 4. So I'm like, oh God, no. But it was manageable. So, and also my screen's flickering, so I can't see it. I look down at it. I'm like, ugh.
But apart from that, a flawless race anyway. Thoughts now for tomorrow?
Do the same again. I got a good start. I hate standing starts. I'm a rolling start guy, and I managed to nail that start as far as mine go. So I'm not scared of it tomorrow. I was usually scared of it. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Congrats on the race victory. Best of luck for tomorrow. Now, second place, Mike Hilton pulling up alongside. Mike, congratulations. Second place for you. Again, a bit of a lonely race towards the end there, but some activity at the start.
Yeah, I'm having problems with the clutch, so basically normally the car will launch very nicely and normally get past everybody, but our car just didn't move, so on the formation lap and at the start, so that was a bit of a disaster. And then halfway through the clutch disc gave up, so I drove in fourth gear for most of the race, which is why I was getting slower and slower, and towards the end the car went into limp mode, so it was in sixth gear for the last lap. So I've never been so glad to see a black checkered flag. I was praying every time I come around. I was like, please let this be the one, just hanging on. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the clutch is an issue. So the biggest strength of the car is the launch. I can get in the front no matter where I qualify. But yeah, it's pretty scary when you just don't move and other cars around you. So we need to fix that for tomorrow.
So that's what prevented you getting away on the green flag lap as well, presumably. Yeah. Thankfully got the car going, but now some work to be done tonight then. Yeah. That doesn't sound like an easy fix.
No, it means engine out. We're going to have to just have to manage it so we can get a good safe start, but the launch control just doesn't work. And even the second time I tried it, it still didn't work. So we're going to have to try something different tomorrow.
When it was working in qualifying, though, I bet it's a good fun car to drive around here. Lightweight, yeah. Decent amount of downforce as well. This is kind of the perfect track for it.
Yeah. I mean, I need a bit more seat time around this track, but yeah, it's good. Craner curves, taking it almost flat, not quite, but yeah.
Well, I'm envious of you. Hopefully you get it sorted for tomorrow. We'll see you back out again tomorrow. That's Mike Hilton. Now, here is Tom, our third place finish. Now, you've had quite the day, Tom, because qualifying didn't quite go to plan, did it? Came here with a championship to try and win, and that was the last thing you needed.
It was a bit of a tricky one. Yeah, I think, first of all, you know, thanks to Revs Italia, the team, they did an absolutely mega job. You know, we were sort of coming out of qualifying thinking it's a weekend over, but, you know, they managed to get, you know, Roger managed to get his hands in there, get the pipe changed and back on sort of thing. So obviously knew we'd be starting from the back of the grid, and it was just a case of trying to pick opportunities going through, look after the car. We had quite a lot of new sort of brake assemblies and drive shaft assemblies, so had a little bit of pad knockoff, but yeah, made it work in the end.
And I believe I was chatting to the team actually during the lunch break earlier on. It was some quick thinking from you that maybe saved the engine because you managed to get everything switched off quite quickly, and obviously that can do some damage, can't it, if you're not on your toes?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of help from the man upstairs as well, I think, but it was a case of just, yeah, you know, trying to think quickly and having a bit of presence of mind and just turning it off, really, isn't it? Or just trying to stop it, trying to seize itself. So, yeah, save the engine, and hopefully we should be in the races for tomorrow. So, feeling good.
Car seemed to be working well in the race. They obviously had some really good pace, and you got your elbows out at the start. You found some gaps that I'm not quite sure were big enough.
Well, you know, I'm good. I'm mates with Mike, and I knew he'd had a bit of a clutch problem, and I was trying to sort of get around as safely as I could. I think we just about got there, but it did get a little bit squeaky. But aside from that, yeah, you know, the car was great. I think we've sort of got to quite a nice mechanical balance place. She sort of is quite neutral going through the old hairpin and the high-speed stuff, which works really well for front-wheel drive. But yeah, you know, I think we'll just try and capitalise on that for tomorrow.
Good stuff. Congratulations then on the podium. A class win as well for Tom Hill. So some more useful points for the championship. Right then, one more race to go today at Donington Park before a full day of racing to come tomorrow. It's the second outing of the day for the always exciting Tagiwa Type R Trophy. They put on a great race earlier on today, and I'm sure race 2 will be no different.